Well, if you've ever bought something awesome, it probably came with a warning label on it, right? Because all awesome things have warning labels on them because they're usually dangerous or they explode. You've probably seen a warning label, but the chances are you've never really read one. It's like that thing that's in between you and something cool. It's that thing that you rip off, you don't read, and you just throw away. You're like, get out of here. I don't want that. But I've looked a few up, some of my favorites. They're kind of funny. These are real, actual warning labels that came on real products. I wanted to share them with you. This first one is on a washer, like for clothing, and it just says, do not put any person in the washer. Like, you would think that would be common sense, but it's not a good idea. Trust me. Those things, they lock from the inside. You can't get out once you're in. Plus, they're relatively soundproof, so no one can hear your screams, and then you get jostled in such a way that you get severe Dane damage afterwards. I've never done it. Or I put my brother in. Never mind. All right. Number 2 also has to do with washers, but this is on an article of clothing which is made for like 3 to 4-year-olds. And it just says, remove child before washing. Like, first of all, I don't know why people want to be like constantly putting people into washers. Why they had to make so many warning labels. Why are they trying to wash kids? They're too dirty. That's not going to help. Okay, number 3, this is a real sign in a, it had to be a boy's bathroom. May have been here. Don't eat the gum from the urinal. Don't eat the gum from the urinal. Someone had to do that for them to make that sign. This last one, it was on a chainsaw, and it just says, danger, do not hold wrong end of chainsaw. You already know Cletus had that chainsaw, and he's like, it's not spinning that fast. I'm just going to grab this side. No, Cletus, don't do it. You know all of these warning labels exist because someone did it. Someone messed it up, and now there's something warning everybody about what should be common sense in the first place, right? Well, why do I bring all this up? It's because I think the same is true when it comes to talking about injustice. People have seen injustice, which we've defined as things that are just not right or they're unfair. They're unjust in the world. They've seen these things and they've tried to do something, but they've gone about it wrong. They didn't have all the facts, right? They caused maybe more damage than was there in the first place. Maybe they hurt somebody more. Maybe in their best efforts, right? Maybe they got hurt and are now paralyzed by fear and afraid to even buy the product at all, afraid to even pick up the chainsaw or whatever to do something. And now no one's doing anything at all. And for Christians, we're not really shocked by this, that people have messed things up in an effort to make things better, right? Because we're imperfect. We're sinners. We're fallen. Anywhere there's people, there's going to be problems. But you know who is perfect? God. God is perfect. So if you're like me, you've probably asked this question before. Well, then why doesn't he do something about it? Why isn't God doing something when there is injustice and there's things that are broken and not right? God definitely knows about it, right? He knows everything. God definitely loves everybody, right? Yes, we believe that. We know it's true. So why isn't he stepping in? Why isn't he intervening? Why is he just allowing this brokenness and this destruction to take place all around us, right? Last week, we asked, where is God in all of this? And we said that he's right there in the fire with us when we're experiencing injustice, when there's people who are victimized and marginalized and oppressed. Jesus is with you. And that's good. That's good news, right? It's comforting and that's reassuring, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm still in a fire. It's still difficult. It's still broken. It's still tough. How can a good God allow the sex trafficking of minors, of anyone? How can a good God allow prejudice and poverty and racism and world hunger and the world clean water crisis and divorce? And the list goes on and just seem to do nothing about it. We tend to think that either God is not good, like he says he is, or God is not really able like we think he is. So which is it? Is God not good, or is God not able, or is there something else going on? That's what I want to look at tonight. Because if you want to know what God is like, then we got to look at Jesus. And this guy Matthew did exactly that. So open up your Bible to the book of Matthew. It's known as one of the Gospels, and gospel just means good news, which in essence is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, walked on this planet and paid for all sin by living the perfect life and then dying on the cross in your place. But not just that, he rose again, beating death, saying, if you believe in me, you could spend eternity with me in heaven. And that eternity starts now, at the moment of belief. Not when you die, it starts now. Right? And that's the gospel, that's the good news, and that's what Jesus was telling people while he was walking around on planet Earth. Now, Matthew, one of Jesus's followers, wasn't just a follower, he was actually a close friend of Jesus as well. And he was an eyewitness to the things that Jesus said and did, and he was so courteous and thoughtful enough to take the time to write them down for us. And we can read them today, and that's exactly what we're going to do in Matthew chapter 9. So in Matthew 9, verse 25, we read his words. This is the account of what Matthew had seen. He says, Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of this area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news, the gospel, which I just explained, about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. So what was he teaching? Well, if you look in the context of this passage, you zoom out a little bit, you can see a lot of Jesus' teachings as he traveled around through the villages in that area. And he was teaching about the outcast, the people who are pushed aside, who are excluded, right? Those people who don't fit in and stuff, those outcasts. He was talking about them being loved. It was kind of countercultural. He was talking about the slaves being made free. He was talking about the oppressed being rescued. He was talking about the hungry being fed. He was talking about the issues, the injustices that were around him at that time. And you know what? When I think about these things, the outcasts being loved, the slaves being freed, the oppressed being rescued, and the hungry being fed, those same issues exist today. They might take on different forms. They might be through social media. They might be in your schools. They might be in your classrooms or whatever. But these same injustices exist today. So what did Jesus do? Number one, he saw something, just like we talked about in week 1 in this series. You got to see injustice first, right? Before you do something, you got to see it. So our eyes, are they opened to the things that are wrong around us? Because Jesus' were. What did he do beyond that? He didn't just see something, he said something. He was teaching. He was speaking up. Whenever he saw something that wasn't okay, he had to say something about it. Are we doing that? We talked about that last week. But he didn't just see something, and he didn't just say something. It says he healed every kind of disease and illness. He did something. He got his hands dirty. He met people where they are. He got down in the trenches, and he says, I see you, I hear you, and I'm with you, and let's build, let's make things better. I want to help. And he did. He did. And you might be saying, well, Reyn, Jesus was the Son of God. Like, he had the supernatural ability and all of the power of God to heal every disease and illness. Like, I can't just do anything about everything that I see that's wrong in the world, right? So what are you doing? You just do nothing? Because you know what? We kind of look at Jesus, I think, and we think like he did all of that back then, but that was 2,000 years ago. What is he doing now? There's things wrong now, and I don't see him showing up now like he did back then. I don't see the solution to these problems like there were solutions to those problems back then. I got news for you, and I got a challenge. If you want to see a solution, look in the mirror. If you want to see a solution, look in the mirror. A lot of us are waiting on God to like wave some magic wand and make all of the world's problems just miraculously disappear. But the truth is, that's why he created you. And that's why he created me. And that's why he created us. So I want to challenge you to stop asking, where is God in all of this? And start asking, where am I? Don't ask, what's God doing about everything? Ask, what am I doing about everything? Are we just sitting around waiting on God to just miraculously wave a wand and do something? Because God might be sitting around waiting on you to get off your butt and do something. So which is it? It's a partnership. And I think it's a privilege and an honor that God would allow us to partner with him in this life-changing ministry, this plan that he has for his people and for earth. Like, we could be a part of that. How much more gratifying and satisfying is it to know that our daddy didn't just step in and take care of it for us and we didn't have to do anything? Like, he wants us to take part in that. That's special. Don't miss this. Don't miss this opportunity. Don't miss it. You know, there's this song by Matthew West, and it's literally called Do Something. It's perfect for this series. The song is over a decade old, but I wanted to read a couple of lines from the song. I grew up with this song, and it came to me while I was preparing for this evening. It goes like this. I woke up this morning, I saw a world full of trouble now and thought, how did we ever get so far down? And how is it ever going to turn around? Right? We feel like this. He says, I turned my eyes to heaven, and I thought, God, why don't you do something? I just couldn't bear the thought of people living in poverty, children sold into slavery. The thought disgusted me. So I shook my fist at heaven, and I said, God, why don't you do something? And he said, I did. I created you. And the chorus goes on to collectively sort of chant, if not us, then who? If not me and you, right now, it's time to do something. We got to stop waiting around and start doing something. If it's not going to be us, then who will? You could just be waiting around for something to happen and nothing will. A few verses later, in Matthew chapter 9, verse 37, Jesus says these words, and they've stuck in my heart since the first time I heard them. He says, the harvest is great or plentiful, but the workers or the laborers are few. The harvest is great, but the workers are few. Look, there's a lot of work to do. We can all agree on that. There's a lot of injustice in this world. There's a lot of brokenness, and there are a lot of things wrong. But Jesus says the workers, plural, are few. Any idea who those workers might be? They're us. They're the Christians. They're the Christ followers. He doesn't just say, but the worker, like me, like I'm just going to come in and do everything for you. He says the workers are few. We got a lot of work to do. But I don't know about you, but my God can do a lot with a little. You know what I'm talking about? He can move a mountain. He can yeet a mountain into the sea. He can change lives. He can rewrite history. So I feel challenged. I feel inspired to be that little bit that God does a lot with. Do you? I want that so bad. I'm like, God, use me. Are you praying like that? So what's God's plan for injustice? What's God's plan for injustice? We are his plan. We're it. We're his plan. Therefore, if we do something about injustice, then God is doing something about injustice. We're wondering, what is God doing? What are we doing? Because that's the same thing. So will you say yes to doing something? Stop waiting. Start doing.